Hey everyone. Good morning on Mother's Day in America, whereas here in the Philippines it's Monday, the day after. I want to do a little travel hack. So this is where we're staying. This is the extra room, and this is the big octagon room where we're staying. And I'll give you a little peek inside really fast, and then I'll talk a little bit about travel hacks. So, yeah, it's a little dark, but okay, you can see now. This place is this is nice, okay? So, there's one bed, there's a bathroom and a shower, there's a nice kitchen. Most of the places I'm staying during this trip are nothing like this, but I'll explain why in a minute. And this, look at this, see this tree that's been sort of like chopped short and it's got all the leaves on it? Malunggay, I think is how it's pronounced. So this is a naturally growing food that's used. You eat the leaves in a chicken soup that my housemate, who's from the Philippines, made last night for dinner. And so the people who own this house have this, like, it's like a gardening concept. And then there's these stairs, and they go upstairs, and this is what I wanted to share with you, because I've been doing some videos, but they're for my summer series, and that means that only my paid subscribers get to see them right now, and you guys haven't gotten any content from me. So, good morning, Boracay. This is the upstairs right above that extra room. That can be a bathtub. You can fill it up with hot water. We haven't done that yet, but we do sit up here because the mosquitoes don't really come to this high of an elevation, although there's very few mosquitoes, only a few early in the evening. Okay, so, wow, right? Oh my gosh, they look so good. So I'll put a photo in later. That right there, those beautiful little orange fruits. Yeah, that's a type of citrus. If I can, calamansi, and they are so delicious that my housemate, of course, who's Filipino, was like, I want some of those. So she was standing, I think is this a plumeria bush? They have them all over Hawaii. So she climbed up in the bush with this long stick and a hook and pulled down about 15 of those calamansis yesterday morning. It was beautiful. Oh, look at that. I'm going to let you guys enjoy this. Okay, so I'm going to share some travel hacks, and the reason I'm doing this is because when I was 18, 19, 20, and, not married and had no kids and had beautiful, perfectly healthy body and all that, it was the early 1990s, and travel was completely different than it is today. And I know young people today who will say to me, oh, it's too expensive to travel. I need to save for like 5 years. I need like $5,000. And I'm like, if you wait too long, you'll end up, pregnant with a kid. And then it'll be 20 years before maybe you travel. It shouldn't be even then. But my point is this: it's a lot easier to travel the world, and there are many good reasons to do so. And it's way less expensive than it used to be. So I'm going to talk about a couple of travel hacks, okay? But I'll let you enjoy the sunrise while I do it. Okay. All right, there we go. Sunrise coming. Okay, so let's see here. I just need you to understand that travel used to be basically limited to people who could afford to pay for a hotel, or there were youth hostels that existed. That's true. And that was it. There were not Airbnbs, there were B&Bs, bed and breakfasts. Those were the fancy options, and they always included, breakfast. And so to travel was like, generally you were looking at about $75 to $250 a night to sleep somewhere. Okay. So you had to spend money to sleep places. And of course you had to buy food, and because you didn't have access to a kitchen, except for getting bread, meat, and cheese or fresh fruit and eating picnic style everywhere, if you wanted to cook anything, you had to go to a restaurant, and that was going to cost you an arm and a leg, or it was going to be really cheap food. So those were the realities when I was becoming a young adult. The next thing that happened was something called woofing, WOOF. I don't know exactly what it stands for, but basically, someone came up with this great idea. And they said, one of the problems we have is that people are not allowed to work in a country that they're traveling to unless they get a work permit. And there's not, it's not easy to get a work permit, right? So woofing was considered an educational exchange program, and they got a lot of countries to agree to allow young people who were healthy and strong to come into their country, and through that program they could work for 20 hours a week on an organic farm. It was specifically organic farming, so you had to be young and healthy, or older and super healthy. You had to be capable of physical labor. And so you could work for 20 hours a week on the farm, and you would be educated by the farmer on how to do organic farming, okay? And then the recipient, the worker, look at that, isn't that pretty? The worker would get back food and lodging. Usually it was at least 2 meals a day, and they would only work you for the 20 hours a week. You could request that was like 4 hours a day for 5 days, or it could be 5 hours a day for 4 days if you wanted 3-day weekends, and then you were free to wander around and do what you wanted. Now, this still exists today. That's why I'm going into such detail. So what this means is that you need to pay for your transportation fees, your airline ticket. I'm just going to give you fun things to look at. There we go, your airline ticket, and you would pay for your food when you're out and about on your own, but that really reduced the budget that you needed. Unfortunately, like youth hostels, which had sometimes a regulation that you had to be actually young, there was a limit because it was only organic farming. So then along came Workaway. I think it's, oh, look at that. Sorry, I just noticed, look way over there, these cute little round houses like right up on a cliff. I bet those are really cute. So then along came Workaway. There's the dawn. So Workaway is the same educational exchange concept. It's workaway.net, believe it or not. I think that's what it is, people. So go online and look it up until you find it. There's a couple things that say Workaway out there. Don't get stuck on the wrong website. And I know it's not .com, and I don't think it's .org either. I think it's .net. So Workaway is an educational exchange program, and it's all over the planet. Just like Airbnb has made it amazingly possible for people everywhere to open up a spare room in their house and to host people, which was the number one, by the way, the number one virtue in ancient Greece was to be a good hostess to a traveling stranger. And the number one evil in ancient Greece was hubris, the greatest sin or the greatest mistake you could make. But so just as Airbnb was opening up more locations and providing locations that had a kitchen so that you were able to cook your own food, at the same time, Workaway .net expanded the educational exchange program concept in, like, we're talking over 100 countries to include any type of work. So when you go into Workaway, their website is splendid. It's very similar to Airbnb as far as having people who give comments and they rate people. There's the schedule, what can I say? It's modern day world, okay, people? They've come up with the best website, and it's super safe. and it's super flexible but also committable. It's just beautiful. Very, very well designed website. And it expanded the work that can be done. So you can go into Workaway and you can find that there's a family that in the 3 months of summer, they have a need for someone to come in and help them with some childcare because their kids are out of school. And then there's another family that is working on building a extra, dwelling on their property. They're looking for people with construction skills who want to come maybe during the late spring and summer because of weather issues. Someone else lives in a northern snowy region and they have whatever, and they want people to come in the wintertime for this or that purpose. It's the same idea as woofing. You work 20 hours a week and they give you room and board. So you don't have to live in, let's say where I live, in a part of America where it's extremely expensive to live, very hard to save money, okay? As I've said before, since I'm going through a divorce, if I don't keep the family home, I will not stay on Vashon Island. It's something that a lot of women try to do post-divorce, and they age quickly and they're exhausted because they're working so hard and paying, $1,800 a month for a 1-bedroom cabin, and food is extra. So if you're young and you can't scrape together a bunch of savings, that's okay. You just need your plane ticket to get there. A lot of times these people will pick you up at the train station or whatever, and then you're there. You're in that other country. If you bring along just what you need for bus fare and a little bit of spending money, it makes it possible to travel somewhere for a month, and all you need is maybe an extra $500 in your pocket compared to needing, back in my day, you would have needed about, $3,000 to get through a month to travel to a lot of places. So we're talking like a huge reduction. And so Workaway exists. And then of course there's, as I mentioned, Airbnb. So the kitchen hack. My son and I, when he was 17, we traveled a couple of times because he was doing a world schooling, around the world trip actually. He was 17 years old, so we knew people who lived in different countries, and they all basically saw him as, an older child on the cusp of adulthood, and they were like, hey, we will take responsibility for him for a month or two or whatever, and he can sleep on our couch, or we have an extra room for him. All you have to do is get him here, and he needs to pay for his own food. So for about $10,000, it cost me $10,000, and my son saved about $2,000 because he was working. Starting at 16, he started working. So he saved about $2,000, and I spent about, I guess $9,000 maybe, for him to travel for 9 months to 17 different countries. That was like 7 different plane trips at least, right? But he did all that by staying with friends and family, and basically that's the concept of Workaway. You could have done the same thing if you were traveling and staying with people and doing work. And I've done Workaway. I've been on a farm. I've been at someone's personal house. I think I've done it twice. Yeah, I think I've only done it twice. So kitchens make all the difference in the world. Last night, my friend, she lived with me for 3 years. She was my housemate, and she's currently home in the Philippines visiting family. So I came to see her homeland and to hang out with her, right? And that plant down there that I showed you at the beginning of the video, apparently does super duper health properties. And we got a chicken at the grocery store and a melon that's really hard to get in the US. And those leaves are almost impossible. So she was really happy to be cooking with her native vegetables that were in great shape and super delicious. And then of course we made some rice. And it was the most delicious meal in the whole wide world. And I think, hi, are you ready to go for a walk? Yeah. Okay, I'll be there in 5. Yeah? Give me 5 minutes to finish my video. And so I think the meal probably cost us about, I'll say $6 maybe. And we both had 2 servings, and there's a little bit left over, and it was delicious. Oh my gosh. So Airbnb and access to kitchens when you do work away, well, that changes everything. I don't go to restaurants. It's so funny. I travel somewhere and I walk by restaurants and see all these tourists in there, and all I think is like, last thing in the world I want to do is go sit down in that restaurant and buy restaurant food. I'll, in Korea, yeah, I'll do actually a little bit more eating out because I'm doing research for my novel series, and I don't actually want to be spending time cooking food. So, but if you're just relaxing somewhere and having some fun time and enjoying your life, make your own oatmeal in the morning. You know what I mean? So I don't know a ton about airline hacks. There's a couple of things out there that my son and his girlfriend have found, like this thing called Hopper, I think, where if you are relatively uncommitted and you can travel sort of like last minute, you can grab, a $200 flight to Europe or something on a Wednesday at 11 o'clock at night, but you have to leave tomorrow. So there are some airline hacks. I can't speak to those a whole bunch. Although I can say that sometimes it's cheaper to fly one way forward in a circle and eventually get yourself home. Round trip tickets can sometimes be more expensive, and I don't know why. I can't explain it, but it seems to be true. Okay, long story short, whether you're like me and you're finding yourself at the end of your year of getting divorced and you're moving into an economically uncertain time, but for example, you really want to go to the country where your third book is going to be based and you really want to bring that authenticity, or whether you just want to travel to see family and friends or to enhance your life and live life, because that's what we're meant to do with it. There are a lot of ways to save money and travel for not too much expense. And those are some of my hacks. And then, of course, if you're lucky enough, you create a job for yourself or get employed doing something where you're a digital nomad. And there are a ton of countries. The Philippines just decided to create a digital nomad visa program. South Korea has one. Vietnam is creating a new one. And so there are opportunities for people who work remotely to, if you're employed and you have a certain level of income and can prove it, you can get a visa to go live in a beautiful country for 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 years. And there you are, and you're working, making your American income in a country where your money stretches and goes a lot farther. So there's just so many opportunities out there. Never tell yourself travel is for the rich, I can't afford it. That is a lie. That is not true. I guarantee you can afford it. You just have to decide that you want to do it, and then go and explore some of these things. Talk to other people in Facebook travel groups. You'll get all sorts of hacks and ideas. The reality, especially if you're a young person, you're like, oh, I'm too young, I'm too poor. No, you're not. And you're young and healthy. You can totally do a lot of jobs. There are tens of thousands of jobs on Workaway all over the world in all sorts of different countries. You can do it. And I'll tell you why you should. Other than the 5,000 reasons I can't come up with because they're unique to you and everyone else in the world, one of the best things for Americans in particular about traveling is that when you go to other countries, you start to see your own country more clearly. The number one thing I learn every time I go somewhere else is I reflect, not intentionally, it just comes up in my head. I go, oh wow, look how they do that. Oh, we do it this way, they do it that way. Or, oh, life is this way here, back home it's that way. You'll really come to understand and better comprehend your own country, whatever country it is, by going into other places. And it's a beautiful experience. Okay, we decided to go for an early morning walk, and my old housemate, good friend, Mai is downstairs, ready to go. So I'm out of here, and I'll see you guys later. Honestly, I'm sort of laughing. I never thought I'd be like a month away from my divorce concluding in Boracay with a close friend. I feel like a character in some, you know, midlife woman's book. Here I am. Life is good. All right. See you later. And if you're a mom, happy Mother's Day. If you're a kid, call your mom and tell her how much you love her. It'll mean the world to her. Bye.